Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining us today for our session with Dr. Teddy Edward. This is the 15 Laws of Student Retention, Evidence-Based Insights to Maximize Student Engagement, Retention, and Learning. The session is for instructors. If you are looking for the session for administrators, please exit out to the Zoom lobby, and from there you can click on the other session. I'm going to turn this over to Dr. Teddy. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Lindsay, for the hard work you did to put this together, and thank you to the Cohab team to put that together for the participant. It's great to see um, a big crowd. We are at probably 92 people, so it's I'm glad to be able to spend some time and share some much needed information with all of you. Um, let's All right, now let me know if you can see my screen. All right, that's my first test. Is that I'm looking at the chat. Let me know if you can see my screen. Just say yes, and then I will continue. And I assume you hear me clearly. Let's get it going. All right, thumbs up. Thank you. So, everybody, it's my pleasure to be here with you. Today we have a great presentation for you. Let's get it going. And why don't we start with what state are you listening us? Are you listening from? So just type the name of your state. We have Florida, Arizona, Minnesota, Texas. I hope we have all the union. Mississippi, Virginia. Great. We have a fantastic group. We're gonna do something fantastic. So, wow, Pennsylvania. Anybody from Maryland and DC, New York, Texas is here, Alabama, Indiana. Great, we have all the union. So we have a presentation for the union. So to get going, my name is Teddy Edward, and I am a Warsaw ICU. I am a researcher and a practitioner in adult education. Probably, if you've been in adult education for a long time, you probably must have seen me, or if you are a co-ed goer. Has any one of you taken a presentation with me before? Anybody? You can say yes if you have met me or if you have taken a presentation either at co-ed. Oh, Melissa says yes. Okay, Melissa, Kimberly. Oh, Kimberly Hick. Okay, good. So let's get going and to get into our session. My background, as I told you, I'm a researcher and I work with a CBL team. And you probably wonder, what is CBL? We are a team of researchers. We train teachers in research-based practices in adult education. We publish textbooks that covers a bunch of test. So that's not what we're talking about today. So if you need to learn more, you can just visit our page. Now, what I want to focus on today is the 15 laws of student retention. And you all know it is super important that you retain your student. Whatever you do, whether you like them or not, or whether you are crazy about adult education, or maybe this is something you do on the side, the secret is if you don't have students, you don't have a program. It is that simple. Okay? If you would agree with me, you can say yes, or if you say no, that means you disagree. Would you agree if you don't have students, you don't have a program? Yes, thank you, Letitia. It is that simple. So that being said, one of the top priorities you have in adult education is to make sure that you create a program that will attract students, one, and help them stay, and then give them enough information so they can succeed, give them enough skills so they can succeed, and then they can transfer that knowledge to the test, the job, and in the community. Somebody says it's hard to read the screen with the presenter in the middle of the page. Oh, let me see. Thank you for pointing that out. I don't think the presenter should be in the middle of the page. Let me check. I'll share it again. Um, how about now? Thank you. Okay, tell me, how about now? Are you seeing the presenter in the middle of the page? Because I don't want that. I want you to see the screen more than anything else. It's the grid. Thank you, Cindy. Okay, Cindy says it much better. Thank you. All right, so all good now. Thank you, Crystal. So let's get going with the topic. So, as I said, today we're going to talk about the laws uh, of student retention and persistence. So I'm going to need your help to go with this because without your input, I can't do this presentation by myself. Can you promise me you will participate? Just say yes. If you promise me you will participate, thank you. I'm going to count on your participation and involvement in this. So without further ado, we're going to get into the essence of the presentation. So, what is our objective for today? What I want to do is simple. I want to share some information with you on a persistence and retention. I want to look at with you some principles, some laws that govern retention and persistence. And then after discussing these laws, we're going to get into more practical step. What are you committed to doing to improving the retention rate in your program? So that's the key. When we get to the end, that's what we're gonna do. How will I do that? So of course I'm gonna give you the laws. Of course I'm gonna give you some share some research-based practices with you, but more importantly, I need you to do me a favor. Everybody, you need to take note for yourself. This is the best way for you to drive learning in your community. Make sure that students are taking note, because if you don't take note, you are relying on the speaker, or your students are relying on you to spoon feed them the information, and you do not want that. That's something you really do not. You want to make sure that your student, they are participating in the note-taking process, so they can get the information that you are sharing. That's super important. So I will give you information. So I would like you to make notes, and then from time to time we will stop so you can write down what you want to remember from this session. Of course, after that I have some resources for you, but make sure as I go along you take note, and also if something comes up it's not clear, you can ask questions to make sure we are on the same page. So, to do that, let's get into the gist of things. Everybody's ready? I'm gonna move fast. Let me know if you're ready. Just say yes, and then... Okay, yes, good. So let's keep going. Now, my question for you as you look at this is a systematic view of adult education. How many of you, I'm guessing all of you are teachers. How long have you been in adult education? Give me a year. 2, 3, 4 years, 8 years, okay. 22, okay. 25. So we have a big range. So now, the first thing to keep in mind is this. Adult education, in adult education, what we call retention and persistence, it's everybody's business. You can say, well, I'm a teacher, I just get a class, I teach my class, and then, no, it's everybody's business. From enrollment to you as the teacher receiving the student, making sure they are happy with the instruction you are giving them, and then making sure that they're getting enough learning. That's the job that we all ought to do. So it's everybody's business, from the person cleaning the building to the person maybe welcoming them at the front desk. It's everybody's business. So make sure you keep that in mind, and I encourage you, your administrators, to pay attention to that because it is key. So when I say it's everybody's business, but what exactly do I mean? I mean that all of you play an important part, and for you, teachers, you are the centerpiece in that retention process. If you want to help your program really improve performance, increase funding, and all of that, really you are the centerpiece of what you would call student retention, engagement, and success. In this presentation, I want to take time to work with you to go over a few factors that are very important. I know in adult education, based on my experience, we talk a lot about the logistic. We talk about having the building, having books, having some incentive like candies or parties, all of that. That's great too. But in this presentation, one thing I'm gonna focus on is the psychological factors that really influence the way your student view adult education, the topic that you teach, and the process you take them through. So that's a very, very important and critical aspect of retention. It's how students feel in the process. That's what we're going to spend our time on. Now, to get into that, why don't we start with a story? Everybody, I need you to zoom in. Let's look at our case for today. I like to use this case a lot because it gives us a lot to work with. First of all, we have Mr. Bob with 25 years of experience. Please, everybody, you can look at your screen. I'll give you a minute to read, and then I'm gonna go over it, and then we do the question. So, please, if you could wait for my signal to answer the question, so we can do that sequentially. So, in a nutshell, Mr. Bob has 25 years of experience, and you can tell this is a person who is experienced. This is not a new teacher. But this person believes that based on andragogy, other students are self-directed. They know what to do. They know they can sit down and take the book and work on their learning. And because of that, this person believes that those students should be doing independent work. And guess what? That's what he practices. He gives them the book, he gives them the material, and expect them to do what they need to do to learn and to prepare for the test. But there is a problem. Those students, they're not doing what they're supposed to do. They get bored, or they get overwhelmed. They stop coming. After a few weeks, some of them want to leave the program, want to walk away from it all. And when we ask Mr. Bob what's going on, Mr. Bob, believing that students are self-directed, they know what to do, they should take the ownership of the learning, he says, hey, those students, they are lazy because they know what to do. We give them the book, we give them everything. What's going on? But if you are an administrator, you hear about that situation, you look at Mr. Bob, you're like, uh-oh, there is a problem. You give the student the books, okay, what do you do with them? You don't engage with them, there's no explicit teaching, and these students, they are by themselves. They are isolated, and that becomes a big problem. That frustrates the students, and those students, they start feeling abandoned, isolated, ignored. So, consequently, as you can see, some students want to go, they want to leave. And this, my friends, this is a common scenario in adult education where people with a lot of knowledge believe, well, students know what They come to us, they should do what they should do, and then if they want to succeed, they will succeed. If they don't do it, it's not up to the teacher or it's not up to the program. But I can tell you, as a practitioner and researcher in the field, this is a wrong way to look at retention. If you want to tackle retention, you want to look at adult education from a different perspective. So, that being said, why don't you help me unpack this case? Number one, I'm just going to jump to question two. What is going well? I want to be, let's not be biased, just jump into the negative only. Let's look at what is going well in this class and this program. I want to hear 5 to 10 people. Tell me. Plenty of resources. Thank you, Chad. What else? Yes, resources. There is a syllabus, Daisy. Kahoot games. Expect homework, Daisy. Okay. Anybody else? What are you seeing? What is good about it? A lot of teaching experience. Of course, he has experience. That's true. Independent learning. That's a positive aspect. I agree with you. Multiple modality. And good. Administrators care. Thank you, Julie. They care about the students' learning and all of that. Now, I know you're gonna jump in workforce development as well. Thank you, Kelly. So, what is the issue here? What's the problem? What are you seeing? What is the main problem? Two hands off. No sense of community. Passive. No modeling, lack of relationship disconnection, no building of trust. You all got it. So you already way ahead of the curve. Mr. Bob technically is not teaching. Yeah, what's up? Critical awareness not there. No one teaches. No one is teaching anything. No engagement at all. So I think you got the point here. You and I, we can tell, okay, there is a class, there are resources, there is a teacher, there is a process in play, but there's no teaching. So self-directed learning can really be misleading in some in some context. So let's see how we fix that. What would you suggest? Give me your top two recommendation for Mr. Bob to bring this class back on track where he can engage students and move them forward in the curriculum. Experiential learning, Nora. I would like you to say more. Chad said try whole group lesson. Yes, that's a good one too. Please say more. Project based. Lesson, survey, learning activities, modeling, yes. Communication one-on-one, yep. Brenda, let's see what you said. More one-on-one, yes. Small group. Michelle, I agree with you too. Building community, Jackie says whole group and with student participation, pay attention to struggling student. I agree, Sylvia, that's a good point. We have to do that. Hilary is saying have student work through problem. Changing teaching strategy is needed. And Cecilia, I would agree with you too. Yes, what you said is key. We need to make sure that, they need coaching closer. Yep. Yeah, let's see. Scaffolding, yes. Megan, yes. Yeah, it's good to ask the teacher. Good. So, I can tell that I'm dealing with a group of people who know their stuff. Now let's get into the rest of the presentation. So thank you for sharing your input. This is a fantastic group. I am glad to have you. And I want you to think about that. How many times you find yourself in a situation where, okay, you're thinking, do I make my student feel comfortable in the process? Do I think about where they know, don't know? Do I think about their struggle? It's important as a teacher to see if you can put yourself in the shoes of the student. So okay, this student here, They need to learn, but do they have the skill? Do they have what it takes? Do they have the motivation? Now, if you don't think about it this way, you might think, well, they are grown up. This is adult education. In adult education, we don't have kids. I hear that all the time. So we have to be very careful when we say that, because if we say, oh, they are adult, that doesn't mean they have everything they need to succeed in learning. So, everybody, here's the kicker. Here's the note you need to take. If the students that come to you, if they are successful learners, if they know how to learn, if they know how to study, you think they would be in adult education? Here's the question. Do you think they would be in your class if they knew how to study? If they knew how to direct themselves in a learning process, do you think they would be in adult education? A lot of time, what you need to know, no, those students would be very successful. They would be with the job they need, they would be with the diploma, they would be somewhere else. When they come to us, it's because they need guidance too, and we need to be there to support them. And that's why we need to look at the laws of A, retention and persistence. To start with, Lisa, thank you, I'm seeing that. Let's start with persistence and retention. I know we talk a lot about retention. Retention is keeping your student in class for one semester, giving them a pre-test and helping them stay to take a post-test. That in that cycle, we're talking about retention. But there's something better. There's persistence. Persistence is the fact that your student they are in adult education. They can move from one class to the next class until they get a job or they get a diploma, something. They stay in the cycle to complete everything without giving up, without walking away. So it's important to keep that in mind. When you focus both on retention and persistence, your programs do not have to go every semester to look for students because the program is empty and then you have to bring new people back. When you bring new people back, then you have to go start from scratch. So, that being said, folks, let's look at how do we promote both retention and persistence. Let's go to law number 1. Law number 1 is understand the learner. To understand the learner, I know a lot of you know about, thank you, Nora. Yes, being multilingual help a lot. To understand the learner is this. You've heard of andragogy. If you heard of andragogy, please say yes in the chat. I want to make sure you know this term. Yes. We are obsessed with andragogy in adult education. Now, thank you for the yes, but slow down. Let me direct something, fix something with you. In andragogy, we say, oh yes, we have adult. This is the adult learning theory. We teach adult like adult. They're not kids. And the assumptions of andragogy are this. Adult students are motivated. They know what they want. They know what they need. They come to us with experience. They are self-directed. They have self-concept. So technically, if you look at andragogy, you will assume that the students that come to you, they are ready to learn. They know everything they need to know to do in order to learn. But this is not the case. That's where we commit the sin of, we get into the deadly sin of andragogy. That's the way I call it. Why is that? It's because your learners are not always motivated to learn. They're not always ready to learn because they just might not know. More importantly, what to keep in mind as if you want to understand your learners, keep in mind those learners, even though they want to learn, they have the desire, but they might not know what to do, what to focus on, what to study. Because this kind of knowledge should come from the teacher, should come from us. So it's important that you and I, we keep that in mind, that students that come to us, they don't necessarily have it because they are adult. Okay? Now here's the critical piece you don't want to forget. In law number one, understanding the adult, the most critical piece for you to get, everybody, the most critical piece for you to get is adult come to you with experience, yes, but some of these experiences are good and some are very, very bad. And the bad experiences stand in the way of learning. A lot of the struggle of your student, they come from their past experiences. So you cannot rely on their experiences to drive them forward in the future, because those experiences, they're all about, they are afraid of math, they don't like reading, they don't like science, they don't have time to sit down, they're not interested in concentration. Those are the past experiences. So your job is to think about, well, since my adult student, they're not self-directed and they might have bad experiences, what do I do to get to know them better? You wanna get closer and you need to focus on some key questions. How do you move them forward? Is to think about what can you do to motivate your students and what can you do to inspire them. And that's what adult education is about. So, I hope you get law number one, understanding student. You do not limit yourself to andragogy, because remember, your students have bad experiences and they're not self-directed. That takes us to law number two. Because your students are complex, they bring complex experiences. They're not kids. There's no empty canvas here. There you need to leverage a balanced approach when you deal with your student. Of course, you have the logistic of all the classroom, the good stuff, the books, but most importantly, you need to think about the psychological aspect of the game, the the psychology of teaching, of relating to people. That's what excellent teachers do. Noah says, open questions of their life experiences sometime. So you're going to have to dig deeper to understand the psychology behind your student participation, what's driving them, what's motivates them, and you tap into that. I like to say that if when your student decide to leave your classroom, it's not really a logical decision. Sometimes it tend to be emotional. When I say emotional, I'm saying that students, sometimes it's how they feel about a program, and they are doing things, maybe they don't like it anymore, they don't feel they belong anymore, and then even though you prepare your lesson, you deliver everything, they might feel something different. They can decide to walk away. So do not forget law number two, which is you need the balanced approach. Now, when you focus on your balanced approach, everybody, do you see the quote? If you see the quote on the screen, say yes. Okay, take a picture of that. I know you all want to be excellent teachers. What you need to do is to think about it. Teaching, especially in adult education, is not about techniques. It's more about your identity and integrity as a professional. It's what you bring to the classroom. And I'm going to explain to you in a moment what I mean by your integrity and your identity. Remember, you are the centerpiece in student retention, persistence, and success. Without you, there's no class, because the computers and the directors and the administrators cannot run the class by themselves. That was law number two, and it takes us to law number three. Law number three, as the most important piece in the puzzle, you gotta focus on the main thing. Keep the main thing in adult education. That's important. Why is that? Don't focus on everything. Because of that, I have a question for you. You have 20 seconds. What are the factors that influence student retention? What are the key factors you know that will get student out of a class and never come back? Share with me, give me 2 or 3 factors you know impact student ability to stay with you. Relationship, thank you. Work, family, connection. What else? Victoria, thank you. Julie said bored. They get bored all the time. Upheaval, all of that. Personal need, timeline being, yes, yes. Feeling validated, things like that. Brenda, what say? Yeah, say more about feeling validated. I would love to hear more about that. Environment stresses, yes. Life, work. There are a lot of factors. But as a teacher, don't hide behind factors. Here's how I categorize them for you. You have instructional factors, you have external, psychology stuff, institutional, environmental. What I want to suggest, Chair Richardson, yes, I see the crisis. What I want to suggest is for you to look at this screen and pick the areas where you can make a difference and leave the rest alone. Okay? Yes, I agree with you, Hillary. The class must, it must mean something to them. It's worth the time. You can influence instructional practices. That's where your expertise lie. You can give your student a lesson or something that will keep them coming back. Classroom environment, you can do the same. You can create that environment where students come, they sit down, you tell them, hey guys, this is the rule of the game, let's do this. And after this, you're free to do whatever you want. Go about your life. But for now, let's focus on the learning. And then psychology. When you get into the psychological factor, you need to pick them apart to see, okay, what can I influence? How do I make my students feel better about coming to this program? It's key. If your students are coming to your program and they're having second thought, they're like, I'm not sure today. Maybe should I go? Should I not go? This student you will lose anytime. Hey, Victoria, yes, you get the slide. Lindsay will make sure you get that. So your student should not be having second thought. There should be, if the class is on Tuesday, they should get up and say, hey, today is Tuesday, it's class day. I'm not going to negotiate that for anything. I'm gone. But if they are thinking about, oh my God, do I go or do I not go? You have a problem. So that was law number. We're done with law number 3. Everybody, let's go to law number 4, which is marketing. Adult education has a marketing problem. I like to repeat this quote. Learners do not want classes and diploma. You might think when a learner comes to you, this is what they say they want, but that's really not what they want. They want something better. They want to feel better about themselves. So if you focus on the diploma, they will, guess what? They're not going to get it tomorrow. It's a long, you are making a long time promise, and you need to bring student back into the present. I like Samantha is a colleague of mine who would say, she wrote a piece, she said, adult education is workforce development. I like the way she said it because I like to tell people everything your students are doing with you is a way for them to get better job or to do better in the workforce. So keep that in mind. What you tell your student, the promise you make to them matters. So you need to change the way you do marketing. So what you need to focus on is to think about, well, students with high school diploma sometimes, they don't do well. They can't get a job. So what do you tell your student? You focus on something that they can touch. Remember, adult education brings pride, confidence, better future salary, all of that. The most important thing is it's growth. Thank you, Kristen. Professional development. And when your student can read to the kids, that's good. They go out, they can read their own menu. They can do their own math to take care of their own budget. These things bring pride. Now let's go to law number 5, which is leadership. Well, I know you've never heard of that before, but adult educators are leaders. That's what we are called to do. Why is that? Well, if you cannot inspire a student to stay with you, to follow you, you're going to have a problem of retention. Because your student, when they come to adult education, most of the time, they're testing things. I don't know if you know that. Students come to the program to test things, or a friend comes with them, they're trying, but they have no interest in staying. Now, can you be that leader? The moment you see a student, can you have a conversation that turns things around for them to say, hey, I like you here. Can you come back tomorrow? Let's talk about this. Let's talk about that. That's the focus of the work. So, in other words, what I'm saying is, I move from law number 5, which is being a leader. So I don't think I need to elaborate more on that. To take you to law number 6. That's why law number 5 is important. Transformation. Oh boy. That, everybody, tell me you see this screen because you don't want to miss what I'm about to say. Say yes. You can type yes if you see the screen. Okay. So transformation. Now we move from andragogy. I talked to you about andragogy, and then now I want to take you to what they call transformative learning. It's very difficult. It's not for the faint of heart, but that's what you're called to do. You're called to change your student, to transform the way they view the world, the way they view the topic that you teach. I'll be blunt with you. If you do not change your student, if you do not change the way they view math, reading, the subject you teach, they're going to continue to struggle. A student who is afraid of math, how much that student will do in a math class? It's just, it's just a gamble. It's a 50-50 chance that the student stays. It's a 50% chance that it goes. So your job is to address your student perspective. How do they view the world? Do they believe they can? Do they believe that math is for everyone? Do they believe that if they sit down to practice, they can get it? That's your job. And you need at the beginning of your class, based on law number 6, to address all misconception in your classroom. How many of you can promise me you will address misconception in your classroom? Misconception about math, reading, and testing and all of that. Can you promise me that today? I would like to see a yes to make sure. If you're not already doing it, you will try, but I count on you to tell your student, hey guys, I know what you believe about math, but this is not true. This is what they told you about it. This is not true. Here's the real truth. Now let's go to the main thing. You must address misconception in your class. You address student fear, shame, stigma. They can't do it. There would never be something. You address that. In other words, to finish with this law for you is adult education, adult teaching is behavior change. That's key. If you want to retain your students, if you want them to come back, your job is to change their behavior toward the thing you are doing with them to make sure that they are experiencing life in a different way as they take the bus or drive to your program. Otherwise, guess what? Here's why if you don't do that, here's the problem. It's going to be a pain for your student to come to class every time unless you address what you see on the screen. And you don't want that. You don't want your student to come to class and say, oh, this math problem again. Oh boy, this reading chapter. Oh God, what do I do with this science chapter? You don't want that. You want a class where you're telling a story where the students are hungry to hear what's going to happen next. Okay, what's going to be the next struggle? What's going to be the next thing? Like Christine is saying, you make it relevant to their needs, desire, and aspiration. You tell a story that makes them to want more. My friend, this is what I'm asking you to do. This is the most difficult thing in adult education. It's to teach a class, to prepare an environment where you help change your students for better, and you change the perspective. Your job is to find a way or to think about what can I do to spread the love of learning. the love of reading, math, science, and workforce. Whatever you are teaching, that's the job. This is the job. As you can see, it's not the easiest thing to do. But nobody probably told you that, but that's what it is. In adult education, the change, that's what you are promoting. Now, here we go to law number 7. Law number 7, I think I'm going to do a reflection, but let's tackle law number 7. When you change your student, you're making a promise. You say, hey, that's not what it is. The math, you can do it. Reading is for you. It will take you far, but you need to empower a student. A lot of time people use the word empower in adult education without knowing what it really means, but there's a theory about that. There is the theory of margin that explains that students carry load, the challenges of life, and then they also have power. The loads are the difficulties, the kids in school, cooking dinner, I don't know, do everything you can, daycare, all of that, finding money to pay for the rent. Those are the load of life. And then there's power. The power is the ability and the resources your students have to manage the load. What you want in life, probably what you and we have, that make us here sit down and then we're having these great conversations because we have enough power to manage our challenges of our life, and then we create space to come to a training. It's the same for your student. Your student need a level of margin. They need to be able to have enough power. They need to develop or to acquire enough power, knowledge, skill, resources, so they can manage the load of life. That's key. What happens if your student, if the load is too much for them to carry? I would love to hear what you think in the chat. What happens if the load is too much for them to carry? What happens? What do you think will happen? Anybody? Of course, burnout. They quit. Discouragement. Yeah, they're gonna walk away. Now, here's the question. Can you tell when your students are being overwhelmed? Can you see it coming? Can you see when your student that used to be very motivated, very on top of things, can you see when they're not, they're shifting? Like Eva says, they come late. You see, they can't, then they stop. They're skipping class. They come late. The energy, yes, Christine, you're right. Nora, the same. The energy changes. They start slowing down. They start disengaging. They get disengaged. So you don't want that. So your job is to increase the power of your student by giving them enough skill and knowledge to navigate life with confidence. I want to give you 1 minute, everybody. I need you to write down one thing you want to remember here. The moment we covered law number 1 to 7, I want to give you a minute. Write down one thing you want to remember from law 1 to law 7. I'll be quiet and wait to hear what you want to remember. Candace, I got this. Thank you, Candace. Changing the view of student. That's the most important job, man. Stefan, I got you. That's the same. Brenda, yes. Patience and always encourage. Law 6, change the behavior. Ada, yep. Transformation is needed. Connect with them. Thank you. It's Marivia. What you said is beautiful. They need to find that inner voice, that inner energy that will bring it. You bring it out. Thank you. Lots of love. Yeah. Best interest, Anita, I agree with you. We need to have student best interest. Otherwise, we can't do the job. It's not the easiest job to do. So let's move on. Everybody, are you ready for the second segment? We're going to move from a law number 8 to law number 15. Buckle up. It's going to get better. Anyway, you ready? Also, I see the hand clap. Thank you. Appreciate the encouragement. Anybody else? If you're ready, say yes. Let's get it going. Lisa, I see you. Edouard, yes. All right. Let's get going, folks. Law number 8. Easy. I'm not spending too much time. I know you already know that. Know thy learners. If you don't know your learners, we saw that in andragogy. You will not know the limitation, the problem, the experiences. So you need to know the needs, the want, and the priority. That's how then you can move forward with them. When I say knowing your student, it's not like somebody that come to you in the class and you say, "What's your name?" "Oh, great," and then let's sit down and let me teach you. And you want this student to stay with you? No, that's a lack of interest. If your student come to you, all you know about them is their name, come on, folks. Why would you want them to stay? So you want to know more than the name, interest, family stuff, because the student need to feel that at least you have an interest in who they are as a person. So once you know your student, law number 9 says you have to connect. There's nothing better than connection. Remember, excellent leaders connect. Your student will stay in the class because of you if you can connect with them. They might not like the building. They might not like the street. They might not like the administration. They may not like the book you are using, but they are connected with you. They feel that, hey, this guy trusts me. He believes in me. I want to come back for him. And this is why I call you the most important piece in the puzzle, because students will do it for you, not for the building. Okay? They will do it for you. I want to make sure you keep that in mind. Law number 9, I want to dig deeper in it. Here's a quote you don't want to miss, everybody. It's not what your student think of your program that matters, okay? What your student think about your program is, whatever. It's not that important. What's important is what they think you think of them. That's what's important. So keep that in mind. Your student, when they come to you, they're thinking about how you view them, what you think of them. And guess what? You can see that reflection in your communication with them. Do you believe or do you not believe? Do you trust them or do you not trust them? I have heard about a lot of stories in adult education. People are trying to teach folks in classroom, but outside the program, they pretend they don't see the student. They don't even say hi to them. Think about that for a moment. You teach a student and you see the student while you're walking by. You can't say hi. You think a student like that will come back and stay with you? No. So, we need to make the student feel that we care and we mean it when we say we care. I agree with Victoria. Yeah. They don't care how much you know. It's there until you show them how much you care. That's a great quote. So, law number 10, easy community. If you connect with your students, you get to know them. The most important aspect of connection is also giving students your community. You see, community colleges, universities are built on the needs of community. You can see if you go on a campus, there's always an event, there's always a committee, there's always something going on. The student on campus, for those of you like me who spending money on college and stuff like that, we know we're not paying for classes only. We're paying for a bunch of stuff. And that's how, the communities, that's how they keep the student engaged, by doing different things. Sport, whatever event it is. So in your program, here's a question for you. Do you offer your student a community? Do they belong? When they come to the class, do they sit in a corner by themselves, or is there somebody saying, "Hey, hi, how you doing today?" Or is there conversation going on? So that's a good question to ask yourself. It's not only you, it's you and the other student in the class. Whether you teach online, please create community for your students. That's what will keep them motivated. You can create online community, WhatsApp, Google community, whatever you want to create it, or you create a physical community where students can come before class, after class. Do they have the opportunity to come early or to stay late to work on a kind of reading and problem with their friends? That's something you need to offer your student. And number 11, wait for it. Number 11 will shock you. Well, I know we talk a lot about digital technology. We're going crazy. We are obsessed with AI nowadays. But I will tell you, one thing that's slowing students down in adult education is technology skills and technology. People are using technology as if students are so proficient. You put them on a technology, they know what to do, they know what to focus on, and they know how to move forward, how they know how to research, they know how to answer questions. This is a big mistake because a lot of time we put students on computers. They just spend the time trying to drag and click around learning how to move the mouse or find a page. And we don't pay attention to that because exactly, Chad. Some students don't even know how to type, and we put them on reading and we ask them to answer questions all the time. So what we don't know is students are learning technology, and we think they're learning to read. Students are learning technology, and we think they are practicing math. And we get surprised when the test score come out very low. So please don't be surprised. Technology can be very disruptive for your student unless you really know they are able to manage it. Otherwise, I want to make sure you avoid that problem. The second thing is, I'm going to get that in a moment. Unless a student is receive explicit teaching on a content, it should not be behind a computer trying to solve a word problem. So explicit teaching comes first, technology comes second. Because remember, people who tell you technology will teach students things like that, if this is the case, students would stay home. They won't come to class. Adult education will not exist because there's plenty video on YouTube. There's Khan Academy. So we can't pretend that we can, we're teaching if we put students on a video and hoping they're going to learn the skill and then they're going to do the work. That's not going to happen. I know a lot of teachers do not like when I say that, but I tell them over and over again. At the highest level of academia, even at the PhD level, there's technology you have to avoid. If you don't avoid them, they're going to consume your time. You can take that from a researcher. There are technology my friends are using. I never use them because that's their waste of my time. I would need to sit down and learn them to be proficient in them before I can do research with them. I would put that time doing research, in doing research instead of learning a technology. So, everybody, take 1 minute. What do you want to remember from point number, I think, 8 to 11, because I'm going to go to 12 and 15 to land that plane. Please, make sure you taking note, at least you remember one thing or two. If I give this presentation, you don't remember one thing to do differently next time, we fail. And I don't want you to spend your time like that. Cindy, yes, in the correctional setting, yes, I know what you're talking about. Yes, I work with people like that. I've heard about the situation. Oh, thank you. Delia, yes, I'm a researcher. I am a practitioner. I tell people what it is. I don't want to mislead students. Yes, somebody need to be bold enough to tell folks, hey, what you're doing with technology can really slow your student down. It's not always like, you put them on the computer and then let's celebrate the learning. Especially now people are talking about AI, things like that. We can use AI in adult education, but we have to prepare students for it. So let's go to the next segment to land the plane. Here's one thing you're gonna hear only from me. You can tell everybody, Dr. Teddy tell you this. Performance management. Your student is like your team. Is like just imagine you have a unit, you're at work, and then you have a group of people working for you, and you want to check in with you in your classroom. That's the way it should be. You have to do regular checking. Maslow hierarchy of need. Your student need that connection, they need that checking. The same thing. You need to know if the power is getting up or if it is going down. Otherwise, you're not gonna know when they're gonna walk away. So power, power, power. So to keep an eye on the power versus the load, please do a regular checking. Everybody, can you promise me you will do regular checking or midterm checking, maybe a weekly or bi-weekly checking with your student? When I say about that, I'm not saying you go to the class and say, hey class, how you doing today? How's the class going? Everybody's doing well? Come on, your student will say yes. Don't. I hear people doing that all the time. I'm like, what? Who are you kidding? I'm talking about whether you have 10, 20 people, can you go to Joe and say, Joe, hey, it's been 2 weeks, man. How you doing with this class? Anything I need to know? How's your family doing? How's the schedule working out? You know, you go to that person, to the student, and say, hey, I see you. That's all you need to say. I see you. Is there anything this program can do to make sure you keep coming back? All right? So that gives a student a reason to, 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 to come back. And also, when you end a class, everybody, here's a tip you can keep. This is a very, very cheap tip you can keep. One thing you can tell your student before they leave is, hey, class, so-and-so, am I going to see you tomorrow? Will I see you tomorrow? Will I see you tomorrow? Chances are, if your students say yes, they will come back tomorrow, guess what? They will come back tomorrow, unless there's something major. The moment the students start making promises to you, they will keep it. They want to try to keep it. It's human nature. Because they know you are expecting them tomorrow. So let's go to 13. All right, 13 is the job you do. Yes, Delia, I like that too. I use it all the time. So, number 13 is your job. Effective learning. Everybody, look at the screen. Let me define learning for you. This is what you're trying to do. If you don't understand what learning is, you're going to struggle to help your students, and the student will not stay because they're not going to learn. You're going to believe they're learning, but they are not learning. They're just doing things. And I tell teachers all the time, being busy doesn't mean we are teaching. It just means we are busy. So learning is this, everybody. Look at this with me. Learning is a process of giving student information, skill to develop what you call surface knowledge and skill. That's what you do. When I say surface, it's like you meet someone, you say, what's your name? And then you turn around, you get a beer. You come back, you forget the person's name. When you develop surface knowledge in your class, then you need to practice. When I say deliberate practice, I mean practice with no cell phone, no checking, no Facebook, no Twitter, nothing. It's the paper, pencil, whatever you want to use. You practice until the student show a deeper understanding of the concept. And then you don't stop there. You need to take the student to the level where the knowledge that you give them in the classroom, they can transfer it to a different situation. Yes, intentional. They transfer the knowledge. They can transfer the knowledge to a situation like the test, like the workplace, like the community. In other words, if your student cannot take the knowledge you give them to take it to the test, you see why the test score is going to be low. Because most teachers do not focus on knowledge transfer. They don't know what to do. So that's why you have to bring example in your classroom that your student will encounter in the real world or on the test. Okay? That's super, super important. This is the message I repeat over and over again when I teach test-taking strategies. It's to help teachers understand that your student need to be able to transfer the knowledge from the classroom to the test or to the job. That takes us to law number 14. Law number 14, my friends, is explicit teaching, high structured class. Here's how I define, or is how the research define a high structured class. It's a class where you give your student information, you present a skill, they practice it in the class, and then you make them apply it. You create a situation. In that same class, they apply it. You start and close the cycle of teaching or the cycle of learning. You do everything. Why would you do that? It's because your student do not have a lot of time. And if you want your student to learn something and you want them to stay in class, give them enough things to make them feel successful. In other words, you take the student from no knowledge to basic knowledge to practice, 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 deeper knowledge, deeper understanding, and then you take them to application. That's key. That way your student can feel more successful when they come to you and by the time they leave. And the thing about that is important, it's giving student explicit skill. That's something you cannot do on a computer. You can't do that if you don't instruct, you don't present information. So, for example, if you are using an online platform, what you want to do is to teach the concept, practice a little bit, and put the student behind. I encourage people, if you use anything like a math platform, a reading platform, before you get your student on that platform, make sure you give some explicit instruction, and then you get them to practice. You can pull the data to see how well they are doing, and then you can go back to see what they fail, what they're missing, and then you teach that gap. You try to close it, and then you bring them back to that computer to practice with the platform. That way you use the technology to amplify your class, not to replace instruction. So, if you use a structured class, it's about quality, not quantity. Remember, you start the cycle and you close it in the same lesson. It's instruction, practice, and application. Instruction, practice, and application. How about giving them an opportunity to melancholy? Yes, you can do that during instruction. You give students a chance to get into the introduction or information with you. It could be a search problem or a research problem or a research project. You do that. During practice, again, you can do that. You give students a way to discover more information. And then application, the same. Experiential learning, Nora, this is the key. I am trained in an instructional learning because I'm a guy from SIT, the School for International Training, the best school in ESL teaching in the world. So one of the best schools in ESL teaching in the world. So, I totally understand. So when you move from high structured class, you move to something important. Oh yes, let's talk about the test. There are people who are telling students the test is boring, it's a waste of time. But what those people do not tell the student that they are millionaires and billionaires paying tutors thousands of dollars to teach them how to take a test. Or, which something we do not approve of, some millionaire, billionaire paying people to take SAT, to take tests for their kids. What does that mean? The test is very important. So, we cannot teach in adult education without helping students embrace the test. And I repeat, when a student comes to you, part of the change you are making in their life, part of the transformation, is for them to appreciate and embrace testing. Why is that, Dr. Teddy? I'm glad you asked. There's no profession in America where you can make a living without taking a test. You can if you want me to get started, you can help me in the chat, but I'll start with you with nursing, CNA, teacher, I don't know, hairdresser, barber. There's none of them. Okay? There's none of them. Your student must embrace the test. And you as a teacher, please, if you haven't taken a training with me, this is the last time This is the last time for you to tell a student, oh, the test, oh, it's boring and things like that. No, the test is the most important thing there is when it comes to teaching. Now, here's the thing you need to know. On the practice test should be your best friend. The only way you will know your student are doing well is to test their knowledge. You can quote me on that one. Never ask your student, do you understand? Because they will always say yes. So you will only know by testing them. And that's what you ought to do. Do not ask students, do you understand? What do you expect if you ask them? That's not going to happen. They're just going to say, they're not going to give you a good answer. That's not going to happen. They're just going to say yes. And you don't want that. So if you want to retain your student, you want them to persist, do not lie to them. You need to put them to the test. If you use a high structured class, I'm sorry I don't have enough time to unpack all of this. This is a different class that I teach. Hopefully some of you come into COEB. I'm going to be talking about testing. And in this class I teach it separately. It's test taking. In adult education, if you are a teacher, you need to sit down and learn how to prepare students for testing. Otherwise, you might struggle to see that you are a good teacher and your student are not doing well on the test. Because teaching is one thing, test preparation is different. Learning is one thing, taking a test is different. Having knowledge doesn't mean you are a good test taker. That's the kicker. That's the problem. So knowledge transfer from a classroom to a test, from a book to a test, it's something a student need to learn. It's something that you ought to teach. So true, Christine. Thank you. I'm glad you agree with me on that one. Since you are a good group, you participate a lot. Can I give you one more law before I let you go? One gift to you all. One law for you. Let's do it. Tangible progress. What is tangible progress? This is one of the most important strategies you will ever use. These strategies implies that you will help your students see the progress in your classroom without waiting for the test score. That's key, my friends. Why is that? Because we keep telling the student, we are obsessed with, oh, the test, the GG, the high set, the score. But the students are not seeing anything. Every day they come rolling in, they're like, okay, when is the test? I don't know. And when do I take it? I don't know. Oh, yes, Cherry, yes. So what you want to do is to keep portfolio with your student. Every time your students are making improvement, please keep them. Make copies. Show it to the student. Write letters. Make comments on text. Let your student analyze text. Solve problem. Keep copies for them to show them how much they are doing. Because the portfolio is tangible. It is visible. If your students are writing sentences, they move from sentences to paragraph, from paragraph to essays. That's something you want to document, because that's what we do in when you go to a master's degree and you don't want to write a thesis. They will ask you to work on a final project. A lot of time you can come out with a portfolio, and that will be a great thing to do. So please, please, please use a portfolio with your students, and they will thank you for that. You don't need to wait for the final test. Everybody, thank you for making note at least. Thank you for agreeing to do something. And I want you to now, we're going to do a few minutes of evaluation. I want you to type something quickly for me. What did you learn from this session? At least give me one thing. If you did not learn anything, I'm fine with that. I don't expect I don't expect that you come to me and then you have to learn something. But if you did, can you type for us what is one thing you learned from this session you want to take away to your teaching? One thing you learned. Just let's do the learning. I have a second question to ask, but let's start with the learning. Good. Oh boy, Christy. Ooh, Christy got a lot. Okay. Growth. Keeping a portfolio. Yes, I agree. Transformative learning, Christine. This is key. Jesselyn. Yes. The relationship piece is key. Value learning. I like that. Excellent session. Thank you, Dr. Edouard. Thank you, Lisa. Appreciate that. Thank you. And hopefully I'll see you at the COEB. And yes, yes, Tamara, great point you're making. Great point. So now let's transition to the most important piece of this presentation, which is what is it you want to do differently? I want you to tell me one thing you are committed to doing differently when you go back to your teaching, or one thing you want to share with the people in your group. All right, now let's do it. Give me one thing you will do. Again, as I said, I'm not the guy that knows everything. If you like, oh yeah, I'm already doing all of that. I got nothing else to do. That too. So I will not hold that against you. So tell me one thing you want to apply in your teaching context. Regular checking. I like that. Yes, Kate, thank you for doing that. Share this with as many people as you can. That's what I do, and I do this with COEB, expecting to reach you all, and then you're gonna reach other people. That's key. That's important to me. That's why I do what I do. Never give up. Please, thank you, Lisa. Don't focus on what you cannot control. Teachers use that as an excuse to say, oh, I don't have this, I don't have that, the word, the weather, or please don't do that to your students. Focus on the main thing. Oh, that's first for you in 15 years. Thank you, Nora. I appreciate that. This is one of the top session that I've ever given nationwide. So, yep, I agree. I hope it brings value to you. Sylvia, thank you. Getting to know student. Elizabeth, good to hear that. Checks beyond do you understand. Thank you. All right. The application, folks. Keep the application coming. Yep, test taking is key. You can't have your students succeed if they are running away from the test or running away from the topic you teach. And those are basic things, but people in adult education, they miss that all the time because they're thinking about things they're doing every day. Teaching, the notebook, the gift card to motivate students to stay, candies and cookies, whatever they can bake. These things are great. Continue to do them, but really they don't move students the way people think they move them. So, folks, thank you very much. If you want to stay in touch, here's what you can do. This is my contact information. You can find me on LinkedIn right now, and you can just email. So there is I have a listing. I have a exclusive list where I send teaching strategy and my research insight to a group of people every week. If you want to join it, I'm not going to force you. The only thing you can do is to invite yourself, is to go to Team CBL. I can type that for you. It's Team CBL, and then you can just send it and say list, and then I'll ask my assistant to add you to my list, and then you can continue to receive teaching insight for you and for your program. And then if you want to reach me, and I'm on LinkedIn, shoot me a message if you have questions, and then I'll be more than happy to answer them. Before you go, is there any last question before I close? I go over my closing remarks. Is there any question? Do you have a burning question? Something that is burning, You're like, oh yeah, I need to know that. Dr. Teddy, you said that. I don't agree. Can you elaborate on that? Is there any burning question before I close? Because I only have a minute to close. Anybody? Okay, so how do you do extracting when you are so stretched already? Megan, so I think it's a matter of priority. Please focus on priority. Invite you as a teacher and as student, just focus on key priorities. And people do well when they prioritize, because in life, people think they have to do everything. You don't have to do everything. But if you kind of do an inventory of your teaching or your class, you will see that you will have a lot you can do by focusing on just a few things. Best tool for teaching, you can join my list. I will share more, and then Lindsay has my resources for you, handouts that you all can take with you. And then to let you go, I'm gonna close this, and then you can continue to share your experience with me about the presentation, how it went for you. But here's one thing to keep in mind. My key principle is this: teachers, you are the most important piece in the puzzle. If you are not there, there will be no class, and I need you to value that. Retention starts and ends with you. Teaching is not about quantity, it's about quality. It's more about what a student think about, what you think of them more than what you think they think of your program. So don't rely on what student tells you. You need to find out for yourself. But that means you gotta talk to them, have an authentic conversation, so you know what they're dealing with, what they're looking for, so you can build a stronger connection. So keep in mind the mindset that we had in K-12 situation. We cannot succeed with that mindset in adult education. The same thing, the experiences the student bring from K-12 education a lot of time cannot take them to the next level if we do not address them. So your job, as I said before, to end, is the job of a leader, to lead students, to inspire them. And then the most important thing you will do for your student to end this is to transform the way they view the world, to transform the way they view the topics you teach, to transform the way they view learning. On that note, my friends, I want to say thank you, and go and change your student for the best.